suppose, if you like what you're reading, then show a brother some love and hit the old subscribe button and maybe share it with your friends. That'd be appreciated. Thanks. First things first, today I want to talk about a real tragedy. Somebody who recently lost a child through miscarriage and is having a really hard time coming to grips with acceptance, living in the moment, and not being subject or slave to the pain, because they believed that through the teachings of a particular mystic guru that they shouldn't be victim to the pain. They should be able to ignore it, transcend it, and that it wasn't necessarily a part of them that needed to be acknowledged in anything more than an acknowledgement sense. Misses the point somewhat. To start with, we have emotions, and these emotions are an integral part of how we see the universe and experience the universe, how we feel about the universe. Every emotion is necessary, and every emotion is welcome. That's the awkward bit, isn't it? Because not every emotion is welcome. Anger, frustration, all the things we associate with negativity aren't necessarily welcome. And you're right, they're not welcome. Not in our day-to-day life, but they're welcome in terms of awareness. Because how can I ever know I'm happy if I've never known that I'm sad? How can I ever know bliss if I'd never known tragedy? On the other hand, becoming aware doesn't mean that we're going to walk around in a state of bliss for the rest of our lives. That's not how it works. Life will send us adversities, life will send us trials, and they're not fated, they're not what we deserve. It's just life happening. It's not personal. We happen to be there when it happens, and it happens to us. In this lady's case, first your heart has to break for her. Yeah. That's the empathy and the compassion that I keep on banging on about. It should make you want to cry. After that, we have to talk to her about acceptance and what it actually means. It's not simply accepting, oh, I've had a miscarriage, and that's the end of that then. I can move on through life. I acknowledged it and away I go. That's a trauma. And with every trauma comes grief. And grief is broken into 5 pieces. First, the denial, you can't believe it's happening. The anger that it has happened. Despair when you can't see any way out. Bargaining where you would do anything to have this feeling go away, and you would give anything. And then finally, acceptance, if we're fortunate, if we're lucky. So how does practicing acceptance make any of that any easier? Don't wait until the end to get your acceptance. Carry your acceptance through all of it. It helps you understand that I'm allowed to despair. I'm allowed to be angry. I'm allowed to feel grief. I'm allowed to bargain. And yes, I will come to acceptance. And I understand that. Carrying acceptance through each of these particular pieces allows us to experience them fully from the outset with no resistance. That's that Chinese concept of Wu Wei. It's experiencing without resistance. And to experience stuff without resistance helps us get through it faster. Maybe not easier, but quicker. You'll still feel all the same feelings, but you'll meet them with an understanding that, yep, this is supposed to happen. This is how I should feel right now. I'm going to feel it fully, and when I've finished feeling it fully, I'll be able to move on. I'll be able to see what the point is, what the lesson was. The lesson in this situation may be no more than you can survive trauma. It is not in acceptance to live a blissful life, free of any care or any worry. That is not living. That's being in constant daylight with no nightfall. And if you're in constant daylight with no nightfall, how do you ever know you're in daylight? If you're in constant joy and constant bliss, how do you know you're in bliss? How do you know you're in joy? You have nothing to measure it against. The good and the bad have to be there in balance. They are a duality. Everything is. Night, day, up, down, in, out, yin, yang. Remember those? So what do we get out of all of this? We get nothing more than understanding how to see things clearly, how to see it as it is, how to accept it as it is, that life is going to happen, and when it does, it may not always be pleasant, but that in accepting, you can get to the point where you can learn. You can learn, yes, it has happened. Yes, it's horrible. Yes, it's traumatic. But I'm going to deal with each of these stages. And when I've dealt with them, I'm not going to be carrying that trauma. It's not coming with me. I'll be finished with it when I finish the process. I accept that there is a process that I have to go through, and that process is not going to be easy. It's going to be torture. And that is the unfortunate part of this, is sometimes life is unfair. Sometimes life is torture. It's the attitude that we bring to that torture that makes it easier, bearable. When the torturer tortures the victim, once they have surrendered to their feelings, can't be tortured anymore. So the torturer has to let them go or dispose of them. That's the nature of the trauma you'll experience. The more you resist it, the worse it's going to be. The more you accept it, the quicker you move to the next part of the trauma. You carry the acceptance with you through each of the stages of trauma till you come out the other side, healed and whole.